A human eye converts photons into electrical signals. The brain interprets those signals as meaning. Light becomes thought. Physicists can describe that process with numbers, exactly, to 17 decimal places. That is strange. Not beautiful strange, strange. The kind of strange that should stop everything and force a question nobody wants to ask out loud. Why does the universe speak in mathematics at all? Why not chaos? Why not something unmeasurable? Why does reality, all of it, obey equations written by humans on a planet orbiting an unremarkable star in the outer arm of one galaxy among 2 trillion? Two possible answers. The first, coincidence. The second, it isn't. This film is about the second. Welcome back, this is Null Signal, and today we're going to figure out what this universe actually is. Not what textbooks say, what the math says. One number, 137. Not a date, not a year, not a code. The fine structure constant. It describes how strongly electrons couple to light. It appears in every equation that governs atoms, every chemical bond, every living cell, every star. Approximately 1 divided by 137. Nobody knows why. Richard Feynman, one of the greatest physicists who ever lived, called it one of the greatest damn mysteries of physics. All good theoretical physicists put this number up on their wall and worry about it. No explanation exists. It's just there. Fixed, precise, eternal. Change it, even slightly. 4% larger, no carbon forms in stars. No carbon, no life, anywhere, ever. 4% smaller, hydrogen becomes unstable. No hydrogen, no water, no stars, no universe as we know it. 137 sits in the exact narrow window where complex matter and us can exist. Physicists call this fine-tuning. 137 is not the only number like this. The cosmological constant, the energy density of empty space, is tuned to 1 part in 10 to the power of 120, a decimal point, followed by 119 zeros before the 1. The mass of the electron, the strength of gravity, the speed of light. All of them locked into the precise configuration that allows stars to burn, planets to form, and biology to begin. The odds of this by chance are not small, not astronomically small. The word impossible feels like an understatement. 50 years of argument, no answer. Some physicists, though, have a suggestion. In 2007, a physicist named Max Tegmark published a paper with a simple and deeply uncomfortable title, The Mathematical Universe Hypothesis. His argument was not that mathematics describes the universe. His argument was that mathematics is the universe. No physical substance underneath the equations, no stuff that the equations refer to. The equations are the thing. Reality, in Tegmark's framework, is not a physical place where mathematics applies. Reality is a mathematical structure that we happen to be embedded in. From the inside, it feels like matter, feels like time, feels like experience, From the outside, if there is an outside, it looks like code. Tegmark is a professor at MIT. His paper has been cited thousands of times. The logical conclusion, one most physicists prefer not to say out loud, follows naturally. If reality is a mathematical structure, it can be instantiated. The way a program runs on a processor, the way a simulation runs on hardware. The universe may not be the base layer of reality. It may be a layer that was built. In 1997, Juan Maldacena published what became one of the most cited papers in the history of physics. Everything that happens inside a volume of space, every particle, every interaction, every event, can be perfectly described by information encoded on the surface of that volume. Not approximately, not mostly, exactly. A three-dimensional reality is mathematically equivalent to a two-dimensional surface. Physicists call this the holographic principle. Stephen Hawking spent the last decade of his life working on its implications. The universe experienced in three dimensions may be a projection, a hologram, a render, what appears on a screen when a computer draws a 3D world from a flat set of instructions. The information is real. The experience is real. The underlying substrate, the thing doing the computation, may be something invisible from inside. In 2003, a philosopher named Nick Bostrom published a paper that made people uncomfortable for a different reason. Not because it was wrong, because it might be right. The simulation argument. Three possibilities. One of them must be true. First, almost all civilizations at our level of development go extinct before they develop the technology to run simulations. Second, almost all civilizations that develop that technology choose not to run them. Third, we are almost certainly living inside one. The logic is cold and simple. If even one civilization in the history of the universe reached the point where they could run realistic simulations of conscious beings and chose to do so, they would run not one, billions. Computation is cheap. Curiosity is infinite. Simulated realities would outnumber the base reality by billions to one. Statistically, the odds of being in the base reality are very small. The odds that we are in base reality is 1 in billions. Neil deGrasse Tyson estimated the probability of our universe being a simulation at above 50%. A serious probability, taken seriously by serious people. Stranger than the arguments, the evidence is inside the physics itself. The speed of light. Every simulation has a maximum rate at which information can be processed. A frame rate, a clock speed. Our universe has a maximum speed at which anything can travel. The speed of light. Not just light, anything. Information, causality, change itself. No signal can travel faster. No event can influence another event faster than light allows. This is not a property of light. It is a property of space itself. It behaves exactly like a processing limit. Quantum uncertainty. Observe a quantum particle. It snaps into a definite state. Before observation, it exists in superposition, multiple states, simultaneously. The most computationally efficient interpretation, unobserved particles are not calculated. A video game only renders what the player is looking at. Why calculate what nobody is measuring? The Planck length. Below approximately 1.6 times 10 to the power of -35 meters, space stops being continuous. It becomes discrete, pixelated, a minimum unit of space. Below it, the concept of smaller loses meaning. Reality has a resolution limit, measured, observed, confirmed. They look, with uncomfortable precision, like the properties of a computational system. If the universe is a simulation, the question nobody wants to follow to its end: who ran it? 3 candidates. A future version of us. Civilizations that survive long enough inevitably develop the capacity to model reality. Neural simulations, quantum computers, artificial minds, already being built. 1,000 years from now, if we survive, simulations indistinguishable from the universe we inhabit become possible. The most likely author of the reality standing around you may be a version of us, older, wiser, or simply more curious. Something beyond categorization. The fine-tuning of constants, the holographic structure of space, the discreteness of matter at the Planck scale. These suggest the programmer understood physics at a level we are only beginning to approach. They knew what parameters produce complexity, what settings produce stars, chemistry, life. That kind of knowledge is not accidental. Nobody. Some physicists believe the simulation runs itself. Mathematical structures exist necessarily, not because anyone created them, but because existence is the default, and non-existence is what requires explanation. In Tegmark's framework, every consistent mathematical structure exists somewhere. We happen to be in one of them. No programmer needed, only the fact that math is real. Which answer is correct? Unknown. May remain unknown. All 3, though, are more interesting than it's just physics. A photon enters the eye, becomes a signal, becomes meaning. If those photons are computed, if the universe is a layer built on something deeper, does that change anything? The pain is real. The love is real. The loss is real. A character in a story does not suffer less because the story was written. One thing changes. If this reality was built, if there is a layer beneath the one visible to us, then the universe is not the bottom. Something underneath, something that chose these constants, something that set the speed of light, something that decided 137 should be 137. We live inside a decision. Whose? Unknown. The equation suggests someone asked, what parameters produce a universe complex enough to ask this question? And then they set them. And here we are, asking.